Here we are again. In this video I will show you how to finally set up the render setting for this interior scene and post-produce the image in Photoshop. So let's begin. Open up Edit Render Settings. I duplicate it because I want to take my test render setting good, so I name it HQ2 because I have already one to test. Okay, must go. Maybe we can do a new copy and paste of the test and name it HQ2. Okay. Now go to Vray bridge, and first of all, in anti-aliasing settings I want to change from progressive to bucket. This is a better sample typer for final rendering. The progressive is very quick, but for fine tunings I wanted to use bucket. Anti-aliasing filter is good, and bucket sample I think is good for a quickest render. I think maybe this threshold to 0.5, this is increase the quality of render but also the render time. And for me, for now, I take 1 to 40 subdivision. The maximum subdivision is the calculation done by Vray for blurriness, bumps, and so on. If you increase this number, the render is much precise and smooth, but the render time is more. So after doing this, I'm gonna to change my setup of my global illumination, indirect illumination GI, to light cache, irradiance map light cache, sorry. So I change my primary GI engine. In irradiance, the irradiance map settings, I want to increase this hemispheric subdivision to 80 and interpolated sample to 40. Maybe it's good. I think these two clean up these two values clean up the irradiance map settings and produce a very good results for final render. In the light cache settings, I want to increase the subdivision to 50, 1500 subdivision, and the sample size I want to leave this at default setting. Here in color mappings, by default is setting to linear multiply, but I really like to use exponential for interior scene because for me it is working better. After doing this, I wanted to set up my multipath render to render out some paths that I want to use in my post-production of this image. So I want to activate my multipath, here in my render settings. And in multipath I wanted to apply my RGBA image and my post effects image. The post effects achieve the control of all the render on all the passes of my Vray engine, and the RGBA image it's needed for the multi-material select pass. So after doing this, I will save it and go to Vray Bridge, Vray Multipath Manager. As you can see, I have already set it up some passes, the material ID, shadows, lighting, GI, specular, refraction and reflection, and shadow, linear shadow. To add some render elements, I want to go here to render elements, standard channel, and select your passes there. I think the most important passes are shadows and lighting, specular and reflection and refraction to increase the quality of render in post-production. For all these passes, I want to apply my consider for anti-aliasing. This is important because increase the quality render of the passes, all the passes. And in these material ID channels, I want to create this, go to render elements, special channels and material IDs. You need to have enabled disable apply for color mapping and apply consider for anti-aliasing too. This material works with this material ID of all material in my scene. You can set it up here a different number for all your material and different color IDs. Or if you want a quickest way, select all your materials, Vray bridge, Vray comments, Vray random material ID color. This create a random material ID for all material in your scene. Okay, my render is set it up. I want to also save it, so I prepare my folder to save it. Small interior passes. Copy this, paste it here, and for this quick tutorial I wanted to use JPEG because I don't want a maximum precise render, and I don't want to heavy weighted files, so this is okay. So save it, the scene, and start render. Okay, as you can see in my render here, my image seems washed out. This is a gamma workflow problem of Cinema 4D, because you need to before start with any render with multipasses, you should have disabled this setting in project settings, this linear workflow. I don't usually do this, but in any way, the quickest way to do this and return to my correct rendered image is go to my filter, enable filter, and in gamma set it up to 0.454. This is bring the correct exposure for my scene and color mapping. This is not exported with my render, so I wanna do the same in Photoshop with the final post-production image. So this render it took maybe a lot of time, so I paused the video and I show you the results at the end of this render. Okay guys, the render is finished, and now, as you can see, in layer section, if you select single pass, you can see all the passes generated from my my render. And now in Photoshop, let's see how to combine it in post-production. Okay, here we are. As you can see, my image now is washed out. That's the gamma problem. So to adjust it, I'm going to add an adjustment layer, this one, levels, and I want to set it to 0.54, and there we are. We have our correct image. As you can see, if I disable it, you will note the difference from before and after. Okay, let's begin. I think I need a little bit of blurriness became from my windows. To do this, I'm going to my pass and select the refraction pass. Add it in Photoshop. Put it on linear dodge add, and if you disable it, you can see how it's work. So I think I wanna blur it. So right click on this layer, rasterize layer, because I don't want a smart layer. Blur, Gaussian blur. Maybe we can try with something like 50. Yes, good. Maybe no, for me it's good. Okay. And I think this set the opacity to like 10%. As you can see, it's bring in my scene, this pass bring in my scene a little bit of lights, soft lights from my windows, and this is good for me. Another thing I wanted to increase is the specularity of this chair, to increase its realism. So I'm going to my passes, select my specular pass, place it properly in my Photoshop window and take it to maybe overlay is good for me. No, I think is screen is better. Yeah, as you can see now it will affect all the scene, but I don't want it, so I'm going to rasterize my layer and create a layer mask, and with my brush I'm going to remove it from the undesired section where I don't want it. Here is too strong, so go here, select an opacity on my brush. Sorry, I have opacity of about 25%. Reduce the size of my brush about here, and let's try to reduce the Okay, I really like this bright spot here. Yeah, good. I want to remove a little bit of this layer here. Okay. Increase my size of my brush, increase the opacity, and remove it from my floor and my table here. Okay, as you can see, it's bringing more light on my chair, and on this part of the wall I don't want it, so remove it here, and remove a little bit here. Okay, good. Now, to reduce the strength of this layer, I'm going to reduce my opacity a little bit, maybe 75%, and see before and after. Okay, now the chair for me is good, also the lamp, I think is a very good results. I want to increase also my reflection on my floor, so I'm going to take my reflection pass, this one, place it correctly, okay, put it on screen mode, and place it below my levels, because I want to have a little bit of look, not wash it out on this for this layer. Okay, I added a mask and invert it with Ctrl plus I. Okay, now with my brush, select a white color and take an opacity of my brush of about 25%, and let's try to increase the power of the reflection of my chair. So, okay, as you can see, I have a good reflection here, but I don't want this wash it out area, so maybe we can try to normal. It's too heavy, so with my brush I'm going to remove these effects and redo the same thing with a small brush. Maybe I can try to have a better results from my opacity. Overlay, yeah, overlay, and try to paint on my floor to see a little bit of more reflection on it. Yeah, I like it. It's very good. Okay. After all, I want to select all my layers, duplicate it, and merge these selected layers. Merge layers. Here we are. We have a perfect copy, flattened perfect copy of my render. Okay, after I duplicate this image and merge it with all layers selected, I want to create an archviz image from it, so I'm going to create a filter, archviz. Select a small radius. Think maybe we'll try with 1. Yeah, I think it's good. Okay. Okay, my archviz is good, and now place it on overlay. As you can see, this layer brings out the sharpening of an image, of my image. Okay, for me the standard image is good. Now we can try to increase a little bit of color correction with a hue saturation layer, maybe increasing a little bit my saturation, because it's bring out all my woods from this. And we can try with curves to increase a little bit of contrast to my scene. Maybe this area is too dark, so maybe we can try with select an opacity of this adjustment layer of about 50% and see what happens. Okay, so for me this image is good, and I hope you enjoy with my tutorial, and see you in the next video. Bye!